From the Israel Sports Radio Studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Louis Live! Here's your host, me, Ari Louis. Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night, last night of the week here in Jerusalem. Tomorrow Shabbat. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to tonight's show. It's a great one. Big Benjamin Block from your Jerusalem Kings on about 15 minutes, and then Brandon McDougall will come on at 10 o'clock local time. He may talk about what team he's going to, may decide here on the air, or he may not. You will have to listen to find out. Of course, he's a star running back formerly from the Beersheba Black Swarm, the rushing title leader. And we'll see if he's made a decision on what team he's going to go to for next season. But we do have some other sports to talk about. We got to get right into this top story of the evening. Very sad story. We knew this was coming down. We talked with Jim Williams yesterday about this. The inquiry into Penn State, it's worse probably than we thought. This was more than Joe Paterno simply not working hard or making a bad decision. He apparently, along with Penn State officials, hushed up the child sex abuse allegations against Jerry Sandusky for about 10 years. They feared bad publicity, and as a result, the assistant football coach was able to prey on youngsters. This is according to the report that came out today. Quote, "Our most saddening and sober finding is the total disregard for the safety and welfare of Sandusky child victims by the most senior leaders at Penn State," said former FBI Director Louis Freeh, who was hired by university trustees to look into what has become one of the sport's biggest scandals. The most powerful men at Penn State failed to take any steps for 14 years to protect the children who Sandusky victimized. The investigation, of course, was 8 months long. And Frank created a 267-page report that not only blamed the Hall of Fame coach, blamed President Graham Spaner, Athletic Director Tim Curley, and Vice President Gary Schultz, saying, quote, "repeatedly concealed critical facts relating to Sandusky's child abuse." And saying Paterno was an integral part of this active decision to conceal, and his firing was justified. He said his disregard for child victims was callous and shocking, and Sandusky, of course, is still awaiting sentencing after being convicted on 45 criminal counts of abusing 10 boys. And, again, the scandal led to the ouster of Paterno and Spader. Curley and Schultz are awaiting trial and accuses them of lying to a grand jury and failing to report abuse. They pled not guilty. As I mentioned with Jim Williams yesterday, do you think this report will indict other people? Not that Curley and Schultz weren't going to be indicted anyways, but this is not going to help their trial and the amount of time they could serve in prison. Asked whether the officials' actions amounted to crimes such as conspiracy obstruction, Freeh said that would be up to a grand jury. So there could be, again, more crimes to be charged. School leaders empowered Sandusky to attract potential victims to campus and football events by allowing him to have continued unrestricted and unsupervised access to campus and to affiliate with the football program. The report said the access, the report states, quote, provided Sandusky with the very currency that enabled him to attract his victims. So, I don't know where to begin exactly, but maybe you do have to use the death penalty in this situation at Penn State. And for those who know, that is it means all done as a college football program. No more games for Penn State. There is the Joe Paterno statue outside the stadium. I think it has to come down. And these are just bare minimum things. This is not going to change the history of what happened, the victimization of these young victims. It's not going to make it go away. It's their lives could be somewhat destroyed. It'll take a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength, a very strong soul to continue after the sexual abuse. And I think bare minimum, you have the death penalty. No more football Penn State. That's it. It's got to. If this doesn't create the death penalty, I don't know what else will. This is the worst thing that's happened in college sports. The worst thing. This is worse than players taking money. This is worse than players committing petty crimes, misdemeanor crimes, getting away with it. This is the worst thing that's ever happened in college sports. The worst. As far as up and down the university, yes, there have been players that have committed murders are the violent crimes, but from a university standpoint, up and down the line, and how long it went, and the amount of crimes it went, this is the worst. Frey said that officials had opportunities in 1998 and 2001 to step in. Sexual abuse might have been prevented if university officials had banned Sandusky from bringing children onto campus after a 1998 inquiry. So they've known about this for a long, long time. If it's any comfort, any solace to those of you listening, understand the truth will always come out at some point. Just a matter of time. So if someone is wronged you out there and you feel like they're getting away with it, at some point the truth will come out, the truth will be known. To give you some solace, maybe not complete solace, but some. The May 1998 complaint by a woman whose son came home with wet hair after showering with Sandusky didn't result in charges at the time. The report said Schultz was worried the matter could be opening Pandora's box. Then in 2001, after a member of paternal staff saw Sandusky in a campus shower with a boy, officials did bar him from bringing children to campus and decided not to report him to child welfare authorities. Quote, there's more red flags here than you could count over a long period of time, Frey said. In a statement, Paterno's family said the longtime coach made mistakes that he acknowledged, but, quote, never interfere with any investigation and was fooled by Sandusky. The idea that any sane, responsible adult would knowingly cover up for a child predator is impossible to accept. The far more realistic conclusion is that many people didn't fully understand what was happening and underestimated or misinterpreted events, the statement said. If Joe Paterno had understood what Sandusky was, a fear of bad publicity would not have factored into his actions. Defense lawyer Caroline Roberto, who represents Curley, was reading the report and had no immediate comment, according to a spokeswoman. Many messages were left for lawyers Spainer and Schultz. So here we are with this, and where do we go from here? That's the question, because you got to end this thing. This has got to be ended. There's just no doubt about it. You've got to you got to admit what happened here was the worst thing in college football history. The worst. We've seen scandals left and right. Here's more on the report. It's hard for me to read all this stuff. It is. I feel so bad for these young victims. Trustee Anthony Lebrano, critic of the board's dismissal of Paterno November, said the board was still formulating a response. Frey said Sandusky's conduct was in part a result of the school's lack of transparency, which stemmed from a, quote, failure of governance on the part of officials and the board of trustees. He said the collective inaction and mindset at the top of the university trickled all the way down to a school janitor who was afraid for his job and opted to not report seeing sexual abuse in a school locker room in 2000. That's the problem. But we can also help to some degree, in addition to giving Penn State the death penalty, is to put in ways that people can anonymously report these type of crimes. Because I can't get that mad at a janitor who has to have a job to support his family and he's afraid and he thinks if for reports it won't do any good anyway. I can't really get mad at a janitor for thinking that. I'm mad that the janitor didn't have an opportunity to anonymously report the problem. If there was some way, somewhere he can go to put down what happened and not have to put his name to it. You've got to have things like this. There has to be some way. Perhaps some type of ethics bureau. They have a better business bureau where you can complain against businesses that are logged. But to maybe have something like that for these type of moral issues or crimes, maybe is the answer. I can't say for sure. I can't, but what's frustrating is if you're really bothered by what happened, as you should be. If you're not bothered, there's something wrong with you. I mean, people saw this happening. This could have been prevented. You're talking about children's lives, they could have not gone through this. They could have been saved. It was there. And for it still to happen, it's such a frustrating thing. It's very frustrating. I mean, it would be one thing if it was possible to, or if it wasn't possible to stop what happened. You'd figure out a way to stop in the future, but it should have been stopped. It's very frustrating. Before we go to commercial, I'll just continue here. And again, the report also singled out the revered Penn State football program, one built on the motto of success with honor, for criticism. It says paternal and university leaders allowed Sandusky to retire in 1999, not as a suspected child predator, but as a valued member of the Penn State football legacy, with future visibility at Penn State, allowing him to groom victims. Investigators, however, found no evidence linking his $168,000 retirement package to the 1998 police investigation. Frey called the payout unprecedented, but said there was no evidence it was an attempt to buy Sandusky's silence. So a little something suspicious there as well. Maybe Sandusky himself wanted to admit what happened, but was paid not to. All right, story's not going away. It's not going to end. But at least we have more knowledge about what happened. It's sad. It's sad knowledge. But at least we have it. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is the key. Let's take a break. On the other side, good friend of the program, Big Benjamin Bloch. We'll talk about his stolen Sonics, other things going on in sports, maybe a little IFL as well. It's Louis Live in Israel, sportsradio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts. Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat C, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drains is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, and of course we just got finished for now discussing the Joe Paterno Penn State scandal regarding former assistant coach Jerry Sandusky. Kind of change gears here now, and we'll talk some general sports with Big Benjamin Block. Big Ben, how you doing out there?
I'm doing good, Al. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. Long time no speak. We really need to speak more often. I apologize about that. But first thing I want to ask you is, how good did it feel to watch your stolen Sonics lose in the NBA Finals?
Bittersweet. Honestly, on one hand, it's a little, it's almost depressing in a way because, A, LeBron James won. B, when you spend years rooting for a guy like Kevin Durant and Nick Collison, in a way you feel bad for them. And were it any other team, it would have been, well, it would have been worse. But, I mean, it was just a no-win situation, the whole NBA Finals.
And is it hard?
By Frank,
I mean, Seattle.
most of us around here made a point of not watching it.
Really? Okay, yeah. Tell us more about that. In Seattle, they just some people out there boycotted the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're a true NBA fan and a Sonic fan, it was just like, well, what the heck, On one hand, you can't root for the stolen Sonics. You can't. You want Clay Bennett to suffer. You want everything that he has done to our city, to Sonics fans, to all end in utter bitter failure. And on the other hand, you have Miami. Now, rooting for Miami, it felt like rooting for the Yankees. It was just this awful, gut-wrenching feeling. Like you made yourself into a monster,
Now, I think some people forget that Kevin Durant was drafted by Seattle. People look at him as an OKC product, but that was Seattle's draft pick, and Seattle not drafted him. You're talking about an alteration of NBA Finals history. What's the feeling on Kevin Durant? I mean, like the other guys you mentioned, you watched them. You didn't really watch Kevin Durant for so long, and he's overall pretty much known as a nice guy, plays flag football in the offseason. What are Seattleites' thoughts about Kevin Durant?
It's for him, it's kind of, we want to root for him. We do, but we can't because of who he plays for and what they did to us. We can't. You want to see him hit his jumpers. You want to see him score. And, you really, honestly, you want to see him win, but you don't want to see his team win.
Right. I certainly understand.
It's very gut-wrenching. I can't, anytime the Stolen Sonics are playing, I can't watch for more than 5 minutes. None of us really are able to.
No, I hear that. I think this situation of the Sonics leaving Seattle might be equivalent to the Brooklyn Dodgers leaving Brooklyn for Los Angeles. You have people, it happened in the 50s, but you have people still saying they can't root for the Dodgers or watch Dodger games, feel like they were still stolen.
Absolutely, yeah. I've actually heard that from older generations of New Yorkers. It's, it's not just a business thing. It's like, well, hey, man, you're taking part of, my childhood. You're taking part of what shaped me as a person, And I think that applies to any real, true sports fan, You grow up, you split season tickets, you have season tickets, and it's a part of you, You grow up idolizing guys like Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, and it's just like all of that gone, It went to the Sonics basketball camp as a kid. All gone,
Yeah, I mean, do you think this will last like 50 years, the way it has for the Brooklyn Dodgers to the LA Dodgers?
Oh, could be. Kind of hard to read stuff 50 years down the road. It wouldn't surprise me. We'll see how many people are, still around that remember it. It could very well be. I think that for my generation, for the kids who were born shortly before the Sonics left, for those of us who were around for it, yeah.
Now,
I'm not sure for a younger generation that didn't know the Sonics.
What about the possibility? I mean, we hear it once in a while. We heard the Kings from Sacramento might be going to Seattle. I mean, there's already talks about bringing a team to Seattle. You mentioned me off air. If it does happen, they get all the banners back. They get to call on the Sonics. What are the latest on a team coming? Because it's such a great basketball town. It's really a bummer, if you will, to not have.
Right.
Not have it.
The first thing is most of us don't want to do to a city like Sacramento or New Orleans what Clay Bennett and David Stern and Howard Schultz did to us. Because that's just like
interesting. Okay.
That's not fair to loyal fans, to loyal supporters of a team. And quite frankly, either it's got to be an expansion team or Clay Bennett's got to bring them back.
Wait a second. Bring them back?
Stern, certainly not.
You think
there's two things going on? There's a battle over the arena right now. Because where they want to put it is in the port. Chris Hansen bought the property, and the port's already losing contracts and money for other stuff, and they're kind of battling the arena, which is not cool. They want to turn it into something like what they have at the Staples Center, LA Live, something like that, where it's a whole sports and entertainment area. The Safeco, CenturyLink Field, those are all down there. And it's really kind of an area they want to make into something cool. And at the same time, the port will lose some business because of traffic, but it's already been losing business to other ports who are willing to give lower bids for shipping, for logistics. And that's been a battle. The other thing is they keep talking about the Kings. The more likely candidate, if you want to talk from that scenario, is really the Hornets. And this is kind of where you run into a big stumbling block with David Stern. Because David Stern is, aside from being an emperor who's long past his time for retiring, he's not going to move the Hornets, even if they're in financial shambles over there.
Right.
After Katrina and the whole thing, it would mar, his already tarnished legacy. He would be the schmuck who stole from the city of New Orleans their basketball team. And, he did. You saw it when with that Chris Paul trade, what he did. While I certainly would not have really liked to see Chris Paul in the Lakers, it's still, that was like, hey, you're kind of sticking your hand in where it doesn't belong. And that's really what he's been doing. I think ultimately, not just for Seattle, but I think for the NBA as a whole, it's really time for David Stern to move on and let somebody who's a little younger and a little more flexible.
Wow. So you think it's time for Stern to go?
I think it's time for Stern to go.
Is it just because of the Seattle situation, or is it also the lottery was a little fishy this year regarding the Hornets?
Lottery was a little fishy. Look at the lockout. The way he handled that.
But he got a season at the end of the day, a 66-game season. A lot of people thought it wasn't going to happen at all. You still don't blame Stern for it.
It shouldn't have happened. Quite frankly, it shouldn't have happened. Many of the issues that existed during the lockout really were not solved, and what really ended up happening was not Stern putting it together. What ended up happening was the TV network said, hey, either you guys are going to sign something and have a season, or we're going to drop everything that we're doing with you. And it was only when the TV networks chimed in and said, hey, you got to play ball, that things got going. The issues weren't resolved. Nothing was really in place. It wasn't like how the NHL got its act together in 94, 95 when they actually did cancel the whole season to solve all these issues, you know. It was very short-sighted. You know, you're talking about something that's, you know, not just 1 year into the future. You're talking about a sport and a league and a whole industry that extends, you know, 100 years into the future. You know, so to look only for a short period, you know, say, okay, well, I don't want to lose X number of million this year, you know, you're going to lose more in the future because you haven't solved the problems. You haven't solved anything about wages, about retirees, about owners. None of it got solved. It's a season that shouldn't have happened. It really is, and I hate to say it that way because, you know, NBA basketball is great to watch. But the logistics, the business side stuff, none of it was worked out. And you're going to see another lockout easily within the next, 5 to 10 years, just because they didn't solve the issues when they needed to.
All right, now let's move on to the Miami Heat because they pick up Ray Allen, former Seattle Sonic, and
I didn't like that either.
And they got another former Seattle Sonic as well. The name escaping me. I'll have to get up in a moment. So what are your feelings about Ray Allen, though?
You know, Gary Payton played a season for the Heat.
Right.
Won a title, and, you know, I guess I didn't really dislike the Heat then, and, you know, I feel good for Gary Payton. So it doesn't strike me as dissimilar. Here's a guy, although I think Ray Allen won a title with the Celtics, who's looking for an opportunity to play with some good guys, and he's certainly not as athletic or as quick or even as consistent with his outside shots as he used to be. But still, a guy like that can fill in on a team perfectly that has the athleticism of LeBron James and Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade is down. So for him, it's a good situation to be a veteran on a team with more athletic guys to do what needs to be done, you know, on fast breaks, in the paint, although I would argue that Miami really needs to pick up a big body in the paint. Bosh is all right, but he's not really that physical. Donis Haslam is too short. And they got a whole bench full of centers that are absolutely awful. But for Ray Allen, it's a great fit, you know. He doesn't have to run the fast break. You know, this is a place where, okay, if you got two guys guarding LeBron, well, he can sneak around, get himself wide open, get a pass, and be able to set his feet, square his shoulders to the basket, and just drop threes. So for him, it's actually a very good fit in that context. And while I don't like it, I don't like to see him playing for the Heat. You know, for him, it's the right move, and I certainly can't blame him for making it.
Rashard Lewis, by the way, is the other gentleman, former Seattle Sonic, that's signed with the Heat as well. Ray Allen, you think he did this somewhat as revenge? You know, the Celtics talked a lot of trade rumors with him. He was almost traded for O.J. Mayo to the Grizzlies, and here's going to have a chance to stick it to them. In the same conference as the Celtics, they played it. You know, Celtics Heat played in the Eastern Conference Finals, a tough 7-game series. So you think there's some revenge on the mind of Ray Allen here?
No, I think Ray Allen was in the city of Seattle for many years. He's not a vindictive type. He's a very down to earth. He doesn't have that whole superstar ego thing going on. That's not him. I think for him, it was a good fit. It was a chance to go for another title and really a chance to go back to what he does well, which is just dropping shots. You know, with the Celtics, he couldn't do that. He really had to do a lot more, especially in his later years with the Celtics, than his body was just willing to take at his age. And so it's an ideal fit for him not to have to take a more dominant court role.
Speaking with big Benjamin Bloch here, former the Jerusalem Kings. But before we go into the IFL, let's talk about some Seattle Seahawks football. This seems to be the 49ers division. I don't think they're going to do...
No, never.
Well, you think the Seahawks could play with the 49ers this year?
Absolutely. They were able to play with them last year. Well, the first game they kind of dropped. But the second time they played them around, they absolutely can play with them. If you can play stout run defense, and you can, get yourself 17 or 24 points, mix them up a little bit, run the ball, pass the ball well, make it 50-50 and stretch out that defense, which is very stout against the run, but if you can beat them in their secondary, hey, why not? Why not force them to back off the run? And then when they back off, you let Marshawn Lynch loose. You get some young guys who can block, and I think the Seahawks have had a very good defense. And I think they can contend with them. I think that when the quarterback race here ends, it's a nice three-way race between Tavares, the terrible, Jackson, who I don't want to play, Matt Flynn, who I'm hoping will be like Hasselbeck, and Russell Wilson, who is so far absolutely astounded and wholly impressed the Seahawks coaching staff. But, you never know with Pete Carroll. When the Seahawks drafted that, God, I don't even know what the guy's name was, Irvin, their first-round draft pick.
Right.
At defensive end, when they had two, Quentin Couples and one other guy who was available at that position, and they draft this guy nobody's heard of. Well, it turns out it was the guy Pete Carroll wanted to get into USC, but was academically ineligible. And sometimes as a Seahawks fan, I kind of wonder if Pete Carroll is kind of using this to get guys that he couldn't get at SC because of the academic requirements. And it's a little concerning. But I know that as a team, in terms of physical ability, yes, they can compete with the 49ers. Certainly the Cardinals and the Rams. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot. Don't take it the wrong way. But, yeah, I think they do have the ability to compete as long as they keep up their stout defense and they establish a consistent mid-range passing game and running game to keep the defense spread out. I think, yes, absolutely.
All right, now, what do you think of what the Seahawks did in the draft?
I'm absolutely baffled. For everybody I spoke to, I get a pretty good pulse on Seattle, working downtown, working with the public. And everybody had the same reaction when they announced the first pick, which was silent and stunned, followed by, who? It was like, well, it was a brief moment where the entire sports fan base of Seattle was baffled. Not angry, not happy, not sad, but baffled. Like, who is this guy? There was better picks at that position. Quite frankly, we would have loved to have gotten David DeCastro, who is from one of my old high school rivals, actually. Played at Bellevue High School, but he's going to be a great guard, and another Steve Hutchinson. And he would have been a good pick who we could have gotten, especially after Robert Gallery signed with the Patriots. And it's like, well, you can't take him. You've already got John Moffitt at the right guard, who's going to be a damn good guard. Why not get that left guard there and get a real, a good running game with some guards that can really pull, that can really open up holes for Marshawn Lynch, and, go from there. You've got a strong defensive line already. The secondary is okay. They could still use some work, but, they're holding their own. Linebacking core is going to take some work, but they proved themselves defensively last season. It's not as big a concern. Everybody in the NFL places emphasis on pass rusher. And the only thing they said about this guy that made it a positive was that this guy runs like a 4.340, and he's going to be faster off the ball. And, that helps, unless you run into a team that has a tackle like Walter Jones. But I think ultimately the skill set difference and the speed is what makes a better pass rusher, and there were clearly better options available, and we were all just absolutely baffled by it.
All right, let's go to college football now. Washington State and Washington. Any recruits you're excited about? What do you look for those two schools this season?
I'm actually excited. Washington recruited Jeff Lindquist, who is from my high school alumni, where I played my high school football, from Mercer Island High School. He's one of the top prospects in the country. Both of his parents were Huskies, and he had offers from elsewhere, across the nation to play. And he chose the Huskies, and he's a damn good quarterback, too. I had the chance to see him practice. Shortly after I came back here, I went down to my old high school team's practice, and the game really has changed in America. I mean, when I went to this practice, this was not like when I practiced high school football. There must have been 10 coaches on the field. The techniques, everything had changed, and I think that the IQ that this kid brings to the game, along with his athleticism, I mean, here's a kid, a white quarterback, who can run like Tebow and can throw, maybe not like Montana, but, like one of the Hewards, maybe even better than the Hewards. So he's going to fit in with their offense very, very well. And there's been a lot of good athletes locally that they've managed to pick up. Of course, they picked up Shaquille Thomas, I believe, from Sacramento. He was one of the most highly touted recruits in the nation. He's going to shore up that defensive secondary, and I think it's going to be good things for the Huskies. As for Washington State, I don't really like them, but I think picking up Mike Leach from Texas Tech is going to work very well in their favor. They've usually had good quarterbacks and good receivers. I think installing that spread offense is going to do them wonders. And, for all the teams in the Pac-10, the tough one's going to be, the re-rise of USC and Lane Kiffin. But, things change. Other teams are picking up athletes. Other teams are picking up guys who can really play. And, college football, more than, I think, football at any other level, any Saturday in the right place at the right stadium, you get one of those upsets just out of nowhere. And that's kind of one of the beauties of it. And I think that there is potential. There's potential for a lot of Pac-10 teams to be a lot better. This season wasn't particularly great, unless you're a strictly offensive fan. I think after that bowl game against Baylor, for Washington, it was like, does nobody play defense anymore? I think the score was like 65-54, something like that. It was reminiscent of Jerusalem Kings Judean Rebels game, actually, from a few years ago.
Right, the 64-60 game.
Where I think John Rubin and Johnny Joe Morticius must have run for, who knows, they must have combined for at least 400 yards and 100 points. So where defense is going, I don't know. They want to switch defense in college to a 4-3. But the game is really, really, really changing. I think that as you get faster quarterbacks who can actually throw, guys who can run like Michael Vick, but throw, like Marino or an Elway.
Right.
Maybe they're not going to be that good, but they're certainly going to be better than average. I think it means a big evolution for the game, where the field is just going to be that spread, and defenses are going to have a real tough time adapting. I think that's one of the cool things about the game that you should watch for in the next few years.
Well, can we see a potential Rose Bowl appearance for one of these two schools?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. I wouldn't mind the U of A being in the Rose Bowl either.
Right.
I don't think either Washington or Washington State are quite there yet. Give it a few years for Steve Sarkisian, who's already significantly turned around the program at Washington. Give him a few years to really establish all his guys. Well, I believe now, I think last year was the last year of the previous coach's recruiting class. And now he's got a chance to make it his and to keep it going. And I think, 4 or 5 years, yeah, you might see a Rose Bowl team. You might see that. But, it's all about combining football IQ with athleticism and recruiting the guys and keeping up with the changes to the game. So sometimes coaches don't change. That's the trouble. So we're going to see, and it's exciting, and I look forward to seeing what happens.
All right, speaking of Big Bench Block, let's move on to the Joe Paterno scandal. Documents coming out today that he really knew what was going on. Just give your thoughts about it.
You should have gone to the police.
Right.
I think that I feel like they're beating a dead horse in a way. The guy is dead. His legacy, what should have been one of the greatest legacies, not just in college football, but in all of sports, tarnished and smeared at the last minute. And it's very tragic. And, you're going to bring this up now? I mean, to what? What is there to learn from all of this? Okay, what the guy did by not taking further action was definitely wrong. Obviously, child rape is absolutely a horrible, wretched crime. But, everything that this guy and his family have done for Penn State and for the sport, all wiped out. And now you're going to bring out more? To what extent? What are we getting from this? What? Are they going to be more thorough about investigating who they hire at schools across the nation? Or, if, God forbid, a coach at some other school, is molesting children, are they going to be quicker to report? Are people going to be more responsible with it? I mean, what is there to take away from this? I mean, at this point, the message has already been said with the whole fiasco at the time of his firing. What's the point of beating a dead horse at this?
Well, I see. My point at the beginning of this broadcast was I said perhaps Penn State should get the death penalty. You cancel football at Penn State because of what happened.
I don't know about that. I certainly, I guess I could see an argument for it. I think that there is a better alternative to killing it because Penn State does have a legacy for football, and I think the answer is just cleaning house and starting the program anew, which, that's a tough thing, to rehire all of your coaches and, to adapt all the kids that were recruited to these guys, weight training staff, who knows, even janitors. It could have been a janitor who walked into that locker room. But I think that's really the more appropriate solution to the issue rather than killing football because the place has a legacy. The students enjoy it. It's a college town. And I don't think that everybody deserves to have football, their pride and joy taken away from them just because a few idiots on the inside managed everything wrong.
All right, Ben, we're going to chat from Dave from Alexandria, Virginia. He says the reports also show they clearly covered up so the victims should be able to sue, and so the victims should be able to sue and win for serious damages that will never get back to them for what was taken from them. What about potential lawsuits in the future? Perhaps, the report could certainly lead to that, and that might be some justice. They're not going to, again, get everything back, but it's something. What were your thoughts about potential lawsuits?
You got me. Legalese. I don't know what they're really looking for. I don't think no amount of money for what these kids went through is going to make up for being raped as children. I don't, okay, all right, you take care, you cover some financial bases, you pay for therapy, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the nightmares or whatever after effects, psychological, and so on, those aren't going to go away with lawsuits.
All right, also great point from
Dave.
Dave.
If you say you want to sue for, I don't know, covering therapy costs or something, okay, that's legit. But, some of that's just the culture of suing in America. I don't think lawsuits are going to make anything better for them. And I think that at a point, if Penn State just decides to clean house, on what grounds do you really sue? Okay, emotional damages. Okay, all right. You want to pay for my therapy bills? Okay, but if you start seeing these people buying some nice houses and stuff, well, it's not doing anything.
This is also a comment.
I don't really see how it makes anything better.
David has a great comment as well, saying they weren't exactly a few idiots. It was the president, vice president, AD, and the head coach. So what is your response?
They let it go. They must be you got to be kind of stupid for that. Clean house. I think that's really the only answer to the situation. I don't think that staring further into this brings anything. You simply clean house, wipe the slate clean, and when you hire people, you make, certain conduct and integrity absolutely mandatory and made it very clear upon hiring and the interviewing process that it's mandatory. And that's really the only way to move forward.
All right, before we let you go, we're going to have Brandon McDougal on in a few minutes. He may be telling us what team he's going to. He may not be. Talk about Brandon's importance to an IFL club and what he can do for that ball club if he joins it.
What he can do. He brings the speed, the footwork, and power, and really at a shorter but bulky stature, that kind of Fred Taylor sort of power of the game where, hey, not only can this guy outrun you, but even if you catch him, if you go high, either you're going to go over him or you're going to be too high to tackle him. And he's a game changer. He's got that change of step, kind of maybe not to the level of Barry Sanders, but it's that sort of thing where, hey, as is in the IFL, tackling has been a struggle. But now you've got somebody who can go past even a good tackler and beat him with one step in either direction, hit that open field, and just run. And I think that's a really tough thing to find, because you just don't find guys with that football IQ, and certainly not with that kind of speed or athleticism and strength in the IFL in general. It's a real game changer. He's one of those guys who's an every down back who, with even a decent offensive line, can easily give you 100 yards and a score or two a game, and would be an indispensable asset for any IFL team.
Yeah, well said, and I believe he won the rushing title last year despite being banged up and injured, and with all due respect to Beersheba Black Swarm, they weren't exactly the best offensive line, and it didn't have a lot of the parts that McDougal could have gotten out of a different ball club. All right, Ben, before we let you go, the fans in Israel want to know what's been going on with you, how you're doing. We certainly miss you out here. What's new in your life, my man?
Absolutely nothing. All I do is work. Do one thing I could not do in Israel, which is make a good amount of money.
Right.
Could do everything else, just couldn't do that one thing. That's about it. I work 6 days a week, put money away, and it's mundane. Doesn't have the same action as Israel. It'd be nice to have that again, but for the moment, making money is kind of the theme of the day.
Right.
because that's that's really what's going to happen. I think for a lot of successful Olim, they come with money, and for those of us who came young without money, I think that was probably the hardest thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly, when you come with enough money to at least put a down payment on a house, on an apartment that you can own, and you can find, some sort of way to make a living and make a decent enough living to make house payments, where you say, all right, I've got one problem solved. All right, I'm not going to be apartment hunting, every several years. I'm going to be, this is my base. This is where I can work from. And, you give yourself a little bit of a cushion where until you find that right job, until you find that remotely half-decent paying job, you have money to live off of and you're not destitute. It's simple financial planning.
No, I hear that. I understand what you're saying 100%. But, Ben, we certainly miss you. We hope you can come back soon. And we will be in touch, obviously. I apologize for not being in touch with you personally more. And let's...
Busy guy. You got a biz. You got your own biz. You got to run it.
I hear that. Well, you're running your thing, too. And we'll be in touch. And thank you for being on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
All right.
We'll be in touch, man.
All right. God bless and good night.
All right. Big Benjamin Block here on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. We're going to take a break. And on the other side, it's Brandon McDougall. Will he say what team he's going to? Will he not? Find out. Louis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat Seat, Compression Fit, UV Protection, Moisture Wicking, Anti-Odor, and Physique Enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drain is a revolutionary seat seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. Our thanks to Big Benjamin Block for coming on the program. Going to dial up our last guest of the evening, and we maybe find out some interesting information for all you Israel Football League fans. Brandon, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. It's wonderful to have you on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio, and everyone's excited about potentially news that could be told or could not be told. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about why you're in Jerusalem. I want you to give a plug for your performance later on tonight.
We got broken up, Ari.
Oh, hey, okay? Can you hear me now? Basically, we may be hearing some news from you. We may not. But before we get into all that, I want you to give everyone a plug of what you're doing here in Jerusalem because you're performing, and I want everyone to be able to see you if they can go out and do that. So where are you going to be performing tonight?
I'm going to be performing at the Paparazzi Club here in Jerusalem. It's going to be a 2-year anniversary that they're celebrating, and I guess we're going to be the headlines.
Oh,
Me
cool.
and you and Andy, we're going to get up and perform.
Yeah, I know Andy might be a little bit too past his bedtime, but what time does that show begin?
Actually, the club doesn't open until 11:30.
Okay.
So the crowd doesn't start getting in until about, let's say, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's going to be a late night, long late night, but it's going to be a good party. So I really, really, really hope to see some of the IFL players out.
Yeah, they should definitely go and check that out at Paparazzi. What street is that on?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay. Was it the same place as last time you performed a few months ago? Okay.
Yes, the exact same place.
Okay. I remember how to get there. Yeah, I also don't remember that street. But I will hopefully be out there later on tonight. That's going to be a lot of fun. And again, because I know everyone's on the edge of the seats about a potential announcement, before we get all to that, let's talk about, did you hear what happened with Joe Paterno in that story? They found out he was a lot more involved than people thought about covering it up. I wonder if you had a chance to check that out.
No, actually, I haven't heard anything about the Joe Paterno story.
Yeah, they had a whole document that was released today that basically he, the president, the vice president, and the AD all covered it up. And, we know that you have a lot of football experience. I would say this might be the worst thing that's ever happened in college football. Have you ever heard of anything this bad in your football playing days? Sorry, I think we got. Can you hear us out there?
Man, Jerusalem is crazy tonight, Ari. We can't even talk sports because of the police.
You're not doing anything. This is like an okay club, right? You're not doing anything, where the cops are after you, right?
No.
Okay.
Everything is good to go.
Okay, good. All right, so basically you've had a lot of football experience. Have you ever encountered anything this bad? I mean, I think this might be the worst thing.
No.
Yeah.
No, never, man, never. I've never encountered anything like this. Never even heard of anything like this until the Joe Paterno situation came out.
It's so weird because he had such a great legacy for the longest time. That cute old man with the sweater, Joe Pa. And I personally think they maybe should give Penn State the death penalty, not have football play there anymore. But time will certainly tell. What are your thoughts about Cam Newton this season for the Carolina Panthers? I think there's going to be something special this year.
Oh, there's definitely going to be something special. I mean, last year he was great with not even a full off-season, workout going into the season.
Right.
This year he gets a full OTA camp. So Cam Newton is the man. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, Carolina Panthers, I'm predicting to win the division. And
wow,
like you said, they're going all the way.
Wow, winning the division. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I certainly ate a lot of crow with Cam Newton because a lot of times Heisman Trophy-winning quarterbacks don't do well in the NFL. He certainly proved me wrong and had a great season. So at this point, you're not really surprised by anything he does, and it's going to be fun to watch. He's a really entertaining player. He's just a great sight to see on the field and can do a lot of different things.
Like I said, the Carolina Panthers, they made a lot of pickups, in the secondary, the defense, picked up one of the key running backs. So I think they're going to make some noise this year.
And we'll see. My Cardinals got Michael Young in the draft from Notre Dame, so we'll see if that's going to help. I mean, Larry Fitz needs some help, but we really miss Kurt Warner. So it looks like your team has the edge over mine. I mean, time will tell, but also I'm scared of the 49ers, and I don't think we'll chase them. Now, let's go ahead.
No. I was going to say with the 49ers, like I'm still bothered about the decision for them not to pick up Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I can't figure that out either. That is beyond me.
Yeah, I guess he figured, the Broncos was a better fit.
Yeah, the 49ers made those additions, and they were a play away from going to the Super Bowl, so you figured number 18 would have gone there. But I think it's his relationship with John Elway at the end of the day that got him to Denver. A big fan of his, apparently, so I guess that's why I'll be in the Mile High City. And he could have gotten more money there. I'm not sure about the different contracts that were offered. But now let's talk about, first of all, your physical health, because we cover the game for you, the Beersheba versus the Jerusalem Kings, last game of the regular season. You were a bit banged up. How do you feel right now? How is your health?
Well, honestly, I think my ankle is probably about 95%.
Okay.
What happened, I guess, we were playing a game 2 months before that game against the Jerusalem Lions. And I went down, I think it was the second quarter of the game. And I hurt my ankle really bad. So it's been taking a lot longer than expected to recover. But I'm about 95%. I can still work out on it. But I don't think it's going to stop me from playing this year.
Okay. So you're good, 95%. You're pretty much good to go in the regular season game against the Canes, the last one of the season. You were probably, you told me about 70, 80%.
Yeah, I thought I was, but actually it was a lot less.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more like 50% actually.
Because Big Ben was on just this last segment and was talking about how kind of you had a Barry Sanders type of step where you're just that quick drop of a dime, you're able to take off, and you were a little bit hampered with the injury, so you weren't able to do that. But at 95%, certainly you should be able to do that. Now, we've spoken off-air about the national team, and I wanted to give you a platform to kind of make a case that you should be able to play on the – I know it's past already, but that in the future you should be able to play on the national team. Even if you're not an Israeli citizen, they can have one player and make an exception. So I wanted you to have the opportunity to make that argument right now.
Well, thank you, Ori.
Sure.
So about that, the national team, I understand, it's for all Israeli citizens, because it's a national team. But the team is not established with any type of international rules of play yet, because they hasn't even gotten established. So therefore, I felt like if they're able to play in the IFL League as not citizens, then they should be able to play for the national team until the national teams become internationally certified, accredited, recognized, however the international play works. Because once they're in that league, then they have to abide by policy and rules and things like this.
Right.
But until then, I think it should be open. Because, like even in the article that I read, it said that, the national team was compiled with Israel's best IFL players. And a lot of the best IFL players didn't even play. They didn't even go out to play. And some of them are Israelis. So that in itself was a lie. So if they're going to do that, then why not, make the media right? Help the media be right for once and let the best players play.
Absolutely. Now, have you had a discussion with Commissioner Ariel Stern about what channels and what procedures need to be taken for you to be on the team for next year?
Yeah, I need to become an Israeli citizen. That's basically it.
Okay, so he told you straight out what you need to do.
Yeah, I told him, if you find me a nice Israeli girl, that I can marry,
right?
Then yeah, okay, then I'll play.
All right, because then you'll be an Israeli. You would be an Israeli citizen automatically if you do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, I might know one of a couple. We might both know of one if you know what I mean. But anyways, that's a whole different topic. Now, it was also interesting the game where they did you get a chance to watch the game where they, I believe, lost 49-6 or 7? You saw
yes,
some.
I did. Yes, I was there.
And you saw some of the practices. So what did you think of the national team? I mean, certainly they could have gotten help with the use of Brandon McDougal, would have changed things up. But overall, what did you think of the team? What did you see out of them?
Overall, I thought they did very well. With the help that they had, the short amount of time that they had to prepare for a team that's been playing together for who knows how long, who's practiced together, 5 days a week on a normal basis. Has a spring game, spring training. They come back to school and colleges really early just to play football and get the early season workouts going. So for the score, like it was, and that team, they made a lot of mistakes as well. But for the national team to be in the game like they were, then I think they did a great job because I don't think the score dictated how well the national team played.
Okay.
With me playing, I'm not so sure I would have made a difference, to be honest. Just me alone, because, like I say, it wasn't compiled of the best players in the league. And that's not taking anything away from any other player that played on the team or any other player that didn't play on the team. That's just stating the facts.
Also, did you think, when you're playing against a team from the United States, that maybe they needed more practice time or somewhere more time to gel? Because you're talking about players from different teams having to learn how to play together, the chemistry, all those type of issues. So what did you think of the amount of practice time given to the national team?
They did the best with what they had to work with. And then you also got to take into the fact, you're going from 8-man football to 11-man football.
Right.
Where a lot of the players have never even played 11-man football versus a lot of them, was his first season even picking up a football to play 8-man. So that's what I say. If you, take all the variables into consideration and what they had to work with, like I said, I think they did a really good job, a really good job. And I told Yona, at the end of the game, congratulations. And not only that, but they're part of history now. And that's a big part in Israel, trying to get the football league going here in Israel.
Yeah, and I think it only helped the league, even though they lost in that fashion, because it gave them so much exposure, not just from the newspaper media outlet standards, but even to American football players, some colleges, those type of things. So overall, I think it was a good thing for the IFL. Now, in the last couple minutes we had with you, let's talk about potentially where you're playing next year. And before we get exactly into the details, what have you gotten support from Beersheba as far as, hey, we understand the situation about you going to another team, or is Henderone giving you any grief, any type of things? How do your teammates of Beersheba feel about where you might potentially go next year?
Well, I have talked with them. I spoke with management, and I have spoken with a few key players on the team. And, of course, no team wants to see a team member leave.
Right.
But overall, I think they're supporting my decision to potentially not come back to the Black Swarm. So I really think that they're on board with it. I haven't gotten any grief or anything about it.
Okay, so good to know there. So this is not, for those out there who are saying this is like LeBron James' decision, you actually have talked to the team about it as opposed to LeBron James. So it is a little different there. And my curiosity also is, at this point, what is the courting period like? Are teams contacting you and pitching why you should go to them? Do you go to the teams and talk about your services? How does it happen at this point?
Well, it's a little bit of both, actually, because, I think every team does it. At the end of the season, every team, they may see a key player or players that they think will probably be a great fit for their team. And it's not necessarily, the coaches reaching out. It's the players of the teams. So they may reach out to a player or, like I said, the players and, have an invite to come to a practice or a workout session, or sit down and have a talk about, the benefits of you playing for their team. And for me, it's been a little bit of both, because I've reached out to a few teams myself, and a few of the teams have come back to me. Of course, I won't go into that and say, who and what was said. Right. But it's been a little bit of both. The courtship has been routine.
Brady, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So it's been a little bit back and forth. Now, did you discuss with them what type of offense they might run if you're on the team, that maybe they would change things up? Because a lot of times you like to run to the outside, and if certain teams are constructed to run more in the middle, do you approach them, or they approach you, and will they say, we'll make a change for you, or make it a little bit different so it'll be easier for you to run your game?
Well, for the teams that I have spoken with, the number one concentration is on winning.
Okay.
So whatever it is, that they need to do to win, then that's what they'll do. If it means that they have to make a few changes in the playbook, whether I am running outside versus running inside, or whether I'm getting less touches than what I would normally get, just so, I won't be the main focus of that team. This is the things that they talk about. But I think everyone's main focus is winning, not necessarily, to make the changes. That's not their main focus. But if they have to, then they will.
Okay. And as far as deciding where you would go in the future, travel versus, let's say, player parts or player team members, how much, I guess, traveling, commuting, going to these practices, you still live in Beersheba, so that's certainly a factor as well. Have you talked to them about maybe not being able to make 100% of the practices because of that commute?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
With every person or every team that I sit and I speak with, I try to be as straightforward as possible. Let them know, look, this is my situation. I'm traveling from Beersheba. I have work and I have all these other things going on. So therefore, I tell them straight up that I can only make at the most one practice a week, and sometimes maybe two practices a week. And then there will be times where I won't make any practice for that week.
Right.
And if they can, deal with that, then they can deal with it, and of course I will play with them. But the travel 1 hour, hour and a half, however long it is to drive, it's not that big of a deal for me because growing up in the U.S., an hour's drive is nothing.
Right.
It's just like going around the corner. But here it's like everyone makes a big deal like you're going all across the world to rediscover America like Christopher Columbus or something. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. An hour drive, 1 day a week, sometimes 2 days a week, it's fine.
Great point. Yeah, I think sometimes the Israelis are a little bit spoiled or baby-like about that commute. Great point, of course, and it's true. I sometimes will make a 2-hour commute one way and then 2 hours back for a particular job. So certainly understand that. Now, with when you're looking at these teams, the two Tel Aviv teams made it to the finals last year, and we talked about the strength of the South Division, North Division. How much does that play a factor? Because it appears right now the North Division is a much stronger division. So if you're in the South, you're playing against easier competition, which might make it more simpler for you to get the yards. But at the end of the day, you're a competitor, so you want to play against the best. So how much of the divisions play a factor in your decision?
Honestly, I don't think the divisions play a factor at all. Because when I look at the overall caliber of the league, of course, I do agree the North Division is a lot stronger than the South. But I really don't think that has anything to do with it at all. Because the Rebels and the Lions, they're the two strongest teams in the South. And against those teams, I think our team has done pretty well. I say not only me individually, but as a team, we have done pretty well, even though the score doesn't show that. But, a few of the overall team stats and the way we play the game, I think we've done okay against them. But for me, it doesn't matter whether it's North or South or what teams, what division. My thing is I want to go to a team to where I can be competitive and where I have a chance at winning the championship because I'm 31 years old and I'm not getting any younger, Ari.
Right.
You know this.
Right.
And I don't know how much time I have left, so I want to take advantage of it while I can.
Absolutely. So here we are with Brandon McDougall, the leading rusher, and we're going to ask you point blank about your decision if you've made one. So tell us.
As far as the decision being made, I'm still going through the courtship with the other teams. I have narrowed it down, and I'm just trying to figure out what would be a better fit for me. So, no decision is made yet, but I promise you as soon as the decision is made, I'll let you know. Okay,
so that right now the decision is there is no decision. We will find out. Do you have a timetable set of when you're going to make the decision?
To give all the teams a better chance, I guess, at figuring out whatever it is they need to do and help prepare. Like, for an example, if there's a team that was kind of dependent on me to come and I don't show up, I want to give them time to, seek out whoever else they need to fulfill that position. And even though, the season's not starting until later on anyway, but I want to, make that decision for me as well so that way I can get better acquainted with the team, build the team chemistry, and things like this. So I'm looking at actually in about 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks is going to be like really busy. So in about 2 weeks or so, end of July, early August, I want to be able to make that decision.
Okay, so in about 2 weeks, we're going to find out where Brandon McDougal is going to go, what team he will play for, and that'll be a very lucky team, probably the favorite to win the IFL title. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. That'll be good, exciting stuff. And Brandon, before we let you go, let's give a plug one more time of where you're going to be performing tonight at 2 in the morning here in Jerusalem.
It's going to be at Club Paparazzi. If I would text you the address to send it in to you so you can actually announce it on the show.
Okay.
But it's the Club Paparazzi in Jerusalem. The type of style of music is hip-hop, as they call it here in Israel, black music. So This is the style of music that we'll be playing.
All right.
And I will be performing 2 of my own original songs.
Okay, and will you be performing at 2 in the morning, or that's when the show will start?
Around that time, around 2, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30, something like this would be around the time where I'll be performing.
Okay.
But, even if, they don't want to see me perform and they come by, have a drink, party, enjoy the women, girls enjoy the guys, just have a good night.
Absolutely. Great stuff. All right, so Brad, it's a pleasure having you here on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. Good luck in your decision where your team you may go to, and good luck in your performance tonight. I know I'll be out there, and I'm looking forward to it, my man.
Oh, thanks. I can't wait to see you.
All right, good stuff. All right, be well. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Ari.
All right, peace. That was Brandon McDougal, the IFL's leading rusher, and he's not made a decision yet. So he's explained all the factors that have occurred as far as deciding where he may go and why, but he's got 2 more weeks, he said. He set his timetable for 2 weeks of where he's going to go. And let me tell you, this is huge. If he, for example, goes to the Pioneers, who lost the title game by a few points, the Pioneers with Itai Company and Adanya Run are the favorites to win the title. If he goes to the Sabres, who just won the title, they're the favorites. If he goes to the Lions, who are 10-1 this season, they're the favorites. So whatever team of those 3 teams, they would be the favorites. If he goes, even a couple of other teams, if he goes to the Rebels, they're probably the favorites. It's a big decision. He's the league's most talented player and arguably the best. So it's a big deal. We're going to take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk some more sports news here on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts. Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain Seat C, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strange is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel. Birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, thanks to Brandon McDougall for coming on the program. Let's talk about some news going on here in the wide world of sports. So first of all, the USA national team gets together. Kevin Durant's pretty honest that he feels a little weird about playing with LeBron James. It was less than a month ago. They competed in the NBA Finals. Thunder won Game 1. And by the way, not just Kevin Durant is on this ball club from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook and James Harden as well. So you have 3 members of the Thunder joining LeBron James. James, of course, in the NBA Finals, in his Finals MVP performance, averaged 28.6 points, 10.2 rebounds, 7.4 assists. So 2.5 assists away from averaging a triple-double. And Kevin Durant, give him credit. He's usually a pretty honest guy. Here's this quote about playing with his former opponent. It does, but what can I do? Durant said Tuesday, he's my teammate now. I'm a team player. I can let that affect this. This is bigger than that. It's tough to lose in the finals and play the guy you've been going up against for 5 games who beat you. So me, I'm just going to get over it, still be a great teammate, come out and play hard. Now this happens time and time again in the Olympics. If you recall in 2004, you had Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Amari Stoudemire. Of course, Carmelo and Amari are teammates now, but at the time they were not. Speaking of all this, Kobe Bryant said this particular team could beat the Dream Team. Charles Barkley laughed about that. But when you go back to the Dream Team that played in '92, Drexler and Jordan were on the same ball club, and Jordan had just come off beating Drexler in the NBA Finals in 6 games. Magic was on the team. Jordan beat Magic in the finals a year earlier. Magic and Bird played on the same team in the Dream Team, and of course they went up against each other in the finals 3 times. So it does happen. Gary Payton also had to play with Scottie Pippen in the '96 Olympics. That was just after the NBA Finals when the Bulls won in 6 games. So it does happen. And Kobe Bryant had to play on Team USA after his team lost to the Celtics in the NBA Finals. Here's the quote there from Kobe. But then again, I wasn't playing on the Olympic team with, Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and Garnett. Bryant said he's got to look at LeBron every day. I didn't have to do that. So I didn't know if I could do that. I'd probably be trying to destroy him every single day in practice to try to. I don't know. Take a little of the edge off maybe. Being the friends thing, that's fine. Bryant said, once you start playing, I'd have to go after him. There's just no way. So Kobe's a competitor all the way there. So interesting story about the U.S. national team and the what is going on there. Of course, our top story of the evening, the Joe Paterno scandal. President, Vice President, the AD, Joe Paterno, all being blasted on that particular report. Other news, Junior Seau's brain tissue is released for study. As you recall, the former Charger great committed suicide a few months ago, and they're going to use his brain tissue for study, so at least there'll be something good that comes out of this. It was certainly a sad story to see Seau kill himself. Apparently he had some personal issues. His business went under, and you wish you could have held on, but at least we'll get something positive out of that. The Saudi Arabia will send 2 women to the London Games. That's certainly unique. Usually you do not see women participating from that part of the world. And I say that part, I know Israel's right by, but we send women all the time. We're a democracy, and usually don't see that from countries like Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, etc. But the Saudis are sending 2 women to the London Games, which will be happening very shortly. And the move by the ultra-conservative Muslim kingdom to break with its practice of only sending male-only teams is followed by decisions by Qatar and Brunei to send women athletes to the Olympics for the first time as well. So it's kind of an influence of some of the other countries. Quote, with Saudi Arabian female athletes now joining their fellow female competitors from Qatar and Brunei, it means that by London 2012, every National Olympic Committee will have sent women to the Olympic Games. That's President Jacques Rogue saying that, IOC president. We'll see also if we get a moment of silence for the fallen of the Israeli team, of 1972 in the Berlin Games. They've certainly been working on that for a while. Lopez of the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets agree on a 4-year contract extension, which probably means that's it for the Dwight Howard sweepstakes going to Brooklyn. It looks like that deal will be nixed. So the center for the Nets, that'd be Brooke Lopez, is going to agree to extension. So Lopez has been in trade talks for a while, but didn't pull Ray Allen and leave to another team to try to take revenge and take out his former team instead. He's going to hang around with the Nets for at least 4 more seasons. One of the top young centers in the NBA, according to General Manager Billy King. We have witnessed his growth as a player over the past 4 years, and we're very pleased that will he remain in a Nets uniform as we begin our new era in Brooklyn. Lopez was limited to 5 games last season because of injuries. He still averaged 19.2 points per game, and he's appeared in 82 games in each of his first 2 NBA seasons. His career average is 17.4 points. Nets, of course, have re-signed Jerome Williams, keeping him from going to the Dallas Mavericks. They've also got Gerald Wallace and got All-Star Joe Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks via trade. They also signed Bosnian forward Mizra Tutovic and acquired veteran forward Reggie Evans from the Los Angeles Clippers. So the Nets will be on the prowl. I still don't think their team is as good as the Knicks, especially if Jeremy Lin comes back. But time will tell. If they added Howard, I thought they'd be a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference, but again, does not look like that will be happening. In other news, Blake Griffin injures his left knee during Team USA scrimmage. Got to be a little nervous if you're the Clippers. They signed him to that big contract. We talked about that with Andy Dorff yesterday, that he was overpaid. Griffin twisted the knee in a scrimmage, a source said. The severity of the injury is unclear. He's expected to have an MRI possibly as soon as Thursday. Griffin injured the same knee in Game 5 of the Clippers' first-round series against the Memphis Grizzlies. USA basketball officials have asked New Orleans Hornets rookie forward Anthony Davis, one of Team USA final cuts last week, to report to training camp. So the number 1 overall pick looks like he'll be taking Griffin's spot, at least as of this point. Davis is on his way to Vegas on Thursday afternoon after attending a cable TV event in Los Angeles on Wednesday night. USA Basketball Managing Director Jerry Colangelo told Yahoo Sports' Mark Spears, former Louis Live guest, that Davis will be available to play in Team USA's exhibition against the Dominican Republic. But Davis isn't guaranteed a roster spot if Griffin is unable to participate in the Olympics. Colangelo said he was surprised that Griffin awoke with swelling in his knee. He doesn't know how severe Griffin's injury is. Griffin, of course, signed that 5-year, $95 million contract with the Clippers. And if you're Clipper management, you got to be shaking your boots just a little bit about this potential injury. Speaking more about the Paterno situation, Nike will be taking Joe Paterno's name off their child care center. Just a brief blurb there. We could see a lot more of that domino effect. Toronto Blue Jays signed Encarnacion to a 3-year deal. So that's the first baseman there, $27 million. Includes a $10 million club option for 2016. Encarnacion is 29 years old, a native of La Habana, Dominican Republic, is having a breakout offensive year. He's batting .295 with 23 home runs and 58 RBI. Encarnacion is tied for 4th in the American League in home runs, 5th in slugging percentage at .595, and 7th in RBI. His 8th season, he has a career .267 average with 140 home runs and 450 RBI for Cincinnati and Toronto. So the first 7 seasons, not so good for Encarnacion, but starting to get it together in year 29 of his life. 28 to 32, as I mentioned, is baseball prime for the most part. When you look at the numbers of Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, and Mark McGwire, despite the fact that Mark cheated, you tend to notice that 32 is when they really put it all together. So Encarnacion, 3 years shy of that. Blue Jays want to lock him up now and stop any potential possibility of Encarnacion going somewhere else. In NFL news, they file a grievance over the Jonathan Vilma lawsuit. The Saints linebacker the Players Union is asking Vilma to drop his defamation lawsuit against Commissioner Roger Goodell. The league claims Vilma's suit violates the collective bargaining agreement reached last August to end the lockout. A clause in the CBA, which the NFL says the union agreed to, bars NFL Players Association members from suing the league or any clubs. Vilma tweeted in response to the NFL's grievance, quote, "The NFL sent me a letter demanding I drop my defamation suit or else. LOL, or else what? They no likey my lawsuity." So Vilma being very mature about this matter. Vilma has been suspended for the 2012 season by Commissioner Goodell for his role in the Saints bounty program that the NFL says was conducted for 3 years. Vilma also is seeking an injunction to stop that suspension from taking effect. The New Orleans Times first reported the NFL's grievance filing. In its grievance, the NFL says imposition of discipline against Vilma is covered by Article 46 of the CBA. Clearly, league discipline and the commissioner's responsibility for upholding that policy is conduct permitted by the CBA and under the NFL's Constitution and bylaws. Vilma's defamation suit accuses Goodell of making very public and unfortunately erroneous allegations against Jonathan, said Vilma's attorney Peter Ginsburg, MOT. By making these false and public statements, he has significantly harmed Jonathan's reputation and ability to make a living. So this is a very interesting point and angle that Peter Ginsburg is going with, Vilma's attorney, suing on defamation. And we have seen that from time to time. I know Lance Armstrong sued on defamation of character when he was accused of cheating in the Tour de France. Barry Bonds sued as well, but not for defamation of character. For defamation of character, but not for libel, because for libel you have to prove that the allegations are false. By suing Commissioner Goodell in court, Jonathan opted to use a fair playing field where he has procedural rights and protections to remedy the harm Commissioner Goodell has done to him. In response to the grievance, Ginsburg said the CBA clause is not valid because Vilma is not suing a club or the league itself, but only Goodell. Quote, "The CBA has no suit clause, and we needed to file a grievance in order to be able to assert our rights under that clause," NFL spokesman Greg Alio said Thursday. "We disagree with Mr. Ginsburg's characterization of the grievance. We are following the CBA process. He is not." So there you have the situation with Jonathan Vilma and the potential lawsuit there. We're going to take a break. More sports news in the wild world of sports. It's Louis Live in Israel, sportsradio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts. Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat Seat, Compression Fit, UV Protection, Moisture Wicking, Anti-Odor, and Physique Enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drain is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live in the final segment of the program, final segment of the week. Let's talk Saints. Apparently, Drew Brees, former Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl 44, when he beat the Colts and won against by pick. They're far apart in guaranteed money. This is out of the AP in New Orleans. Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints still must close a significant gap, in guaranteed money if they are to agree on a 5-year contract worth about $100 million by Monday's looming deadline for a long-term deal, said a person familiar with the negotiations. The sides are more than $10 million apart, and the guaranteed portion of the contract on Wednesday, the person told the Associated Press, on condition anonymity because talks are ongoing. The stakes are high for both sides, and the negotiations have lasted for months, including long gaps in communication between the two camps. Brees, who is 33 and entering his 12th season, has never before had the chance to negotiate a contract on par with the elite quarterbacks of the game. The Saints, meanwhile, risk alienating the best quarterback in franchise history, not to mention their fan base, by failing to make an offer to his satisfaction by Monday, the deadline for players with the franchise tag to sign long-term deals. Several months ago, Brees first raised the possibility that he would not report to the opening of training camp if all that was on the table at the time was the 1-year franchise tag of about $16.3 million. People familiar with the quarterback's plans say that remains the case. Brees has said he does not want to play under a 1-year contract with no long-term security in the coming seasons. He did it once before with costly consequences when he played under the franchise tag for San Diego in 2005 and wound up with a career-threatening injury to his throwing shoulder. That injury led him to accept a 6-year, $60 million deal with the New Orleans Saints in 2006, which left him playing for well below market value during the past few seasons, even as he was setting club and league records. Brees has hoped that an extension would be done before 2011, but when it was not, he decided against holding out and played without the security of a long-term contract. He remained healthy the entire season and passed for an NFL single-season record 5,476 yards. Brees considered that an act of faith in the Saints, and now he's expecting that faith will be returned in the form of a contract that not only would give him the highest average annual salary in the game, but also guarantee a significant portion of his salary. In the NFL, players can be cut before their contracts expire, and while signing and subsequent year option bonuses are guaranteed, but base salaries are not. General Manager Mickey Loomis has said he understands that Brees' contract is the most important deal on which he has worked in his front office career. However, he has stressed that such a deal with the potential to affect the team's ability to sign other players must be entered with caution. Both sides had offered proposals that would give the Saints more flexibility under the NFL salary cap in the next 3 years than New Orleans would have if Brees played for the franchise tag. And those proposals, a relatively low base salary number in the 8 years, would be offset by guaranteed signing and option bonuses that are prorated for salary cap purposes over the life of the contract. If the Saints were to use their franchise tag on Brees again in 2013, they would have to pay about $23.5 million, which represents a significantly higher salary cap figure than what either side's 5-year proposal calls for in that season. Such a contract structure would increase the salary cap burden of Brees' deal significantly in the final years, but the salary cap would likely be higher by then. The current salary cap is about $120 million, but could rise substantially under a new NFL TV deal that will begin in 2014. Under the league's current labor agreement, players are supposed to receive about 55% of TV revenues. If the two sides can narrow their differences on the guarantees, the remaining portions of the contract should be easier to figure out. Both sides are working from a framework of 5 years. The difference in the annual average pay is about $1.25 million, with the Saints' last offer at about $19.25 million and Brees' last proposal at about $20.5 million. However, it is not yet clear how much Brees is willing to come down from his annual figure, which some in his camp have argued is low based on past trends. Peyton Manning recently signed a 5-year, $96 million deal, which averages $19.2 million. Manning is 3 years older than Brees and did not play last season because of neck surgery. Meanwhile, teams have had a history of offering new contracts to elite players, which represent annual multi-million-dollar increases over the previous top contract for a player at that same position. Detroit receiver Calvin Johnson's last contract averages $16.2 million a year, which exceeds the previous benchmark deal of Arizona's Larry Fitzgerald by more than $1 million a year. Even major contracts can be negotiated quickly under deadline pressures. The types of differences the Saints and Brees have now can be resolved in less than a day, so there remains plenty of time to work out a deal. However, if the deadline passes without a long-term contract, Brees could still hold out for a 1-year contract with more than the current franchise tag. Brees also could hold out until the Saints put in writing that they will not use the franchise tag on him next season, allowing him to test the open market. Saints, if you're listening, I know you are, sign him. You have too much issues going on with the Jonathan Vilma lawsuit, the defamation lawsuit, Bounty Gate, head coach being gone. He's just the only good thing you have right now. And he has the record. He got it last season for yards in a season. What else do you want from the guy? You compare it to Peyton Manning, 3 years younger. Not the neck injuries. It's pretty obvious right there. That's going to conclude our program for tonight. I want to thank our guest, Big Benjamin Bloch. We're talking about Seattle's feelings, bittersweet, about the Thunder in the NBA Finals after being the Sonics for such a long time. Drafted Kevin Durant, watching other players now playing in Oklahoma City. If Seattle does get a team, though, they will get their banners back, and the name being very crucial and important. We also discussed with Big Brandon McDougal, formerly of the Beersheba Black Swarm, about what team he may go to. His deadline is 2 weeks. Certainly whatever team he goes to has to be the favorite to win the Ofri Becker Trophy of the IFL. It'll certainly be a great stuff to look at and watch for. I want to remind everybody to check out our store by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and more. Again, click on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com to make your purchase. Shipping is included in the price, so it is a great, great deal. I want to also remind everyone to please click the like button on the Israel Sports Radio fan page. We have the fan page up to a very high level. In the last week, we've gone up about close to 100, I believe. So we're at 154 likes right now, and we'd like to get to 200 by the weekend if possible. So if you're able to, it's real quick. Just go to the fan page. It's right there on my Facebook page. If anyone is there, friends of me on Facebook, just click on there. It's my status right now. You click like. Very simple. Takes about 5 seconds, and you'll really help us out. We certainly appreciate that. We want to bring great sports and sports talk here to our fans in Israel. Stay tuned next week as we'll have a great lineup as guests, as always. But that's it for tonight. God bless, and good night.